We acknowledge the First Nations people of Canberra, the Ngunnawal people. We acknowledge their elders and leaders, past and present. We also acknowledge Her Royal Highness Princess Latukefu, who is currently residing here in the Australian National Capital. The political leaders of this country and leaders from all our South Pacific nations here in Australia. Today, the 24th of November 2023, we welcome you all here to Canberra. This is the Lo'au program for the Dala Aikolomua, or Dialogue in the Capital. It is a beautiful, cool day here in Canberra, and we're hoping that you are enjoying your day wherever you are. I have Louisa Latukefu here in the studio to have a conversation about what we have done in the past few years with Pacific Island Youth Network, or Potatala Aikolomua, which means Dialogue in the Capital, and that beautiful name was bestowed on us for the program by Her Majesty Queen Nanasipau, who was then the Crown Princess in 2003. Without further ado, Louisa, welcome again to our studio.
Thank you, Luseane, for that warm welcome. It's always lovely to find myself here with you and Professor. Whatever days that we sort of usually find ourselves back to our Lo'au studio.
True.
Yes. So, and also the fact that we're just coming winding down towards the end of the year. It's just lovely to know that we're still here.
Yes. It's a bit quick this year, don't you think?
I don't know where that has gone to.
It feels like it's just whizzed past. But I think Louisa, today is like for us to recall what we have done up to now with the youth, especially here in Canberra and Australia, and the many programs, starting with radio programs that you especially were busy with, our young people that helped us during that time. Yes. So we do have many memories. And I think because today, especially our conversation today is about youth, is about a group of young men who are well known now. But I wanted for us to recap what we have done in the past, and the work we have done, especially with our young people and youth. Yeah?
Thank you, Luseane. I think it's a very special, the last 20 years has been a very special time for us, for you and I as young mothers.
Yes.
Yeah, not grandmothers as we are now. But we were young mothers, and we were also both involved in our work, in our professional areas, in working with the youth. So it wasn't just our little Tongan or Pacific Islands community, but it was a time where, we did a lot of work for the youth. And I think at the time, there was a lot of funding from the government. It was about encouraging, the doing work with our youth in those days.
Yes.
Yeah. So you look back and you think, how did we have all that energy, to do that in our job, professional work, as well as outside. So yeah, and also on the international level as well as the the national is. So
absolutely.
And I think I don't know how we did it, but we had a lot of energy. But the thing I remember about that period, Luseane, is that we worked with together the non-government agency and the government departments on aiming at doing the work for the youth.
And I think that is so important, Louisa. You can't manage to do this type of work without the, I think, we invited them to come, the non-government agencies to do with drug and alcohol, domestic violence. There were all sorts of people that we invited in.
That's right.
To talk, because you can't do this job without the professionals.
No.
You need them to come and talk to us about how they work, what they do, and especially the police were important. at that point of us starting our work with youth, because we all know that there are problems with our young people in Canberra and internationally. So their voice was important. All the agencies that we called in, Louisa, to come and help, to come and talk to us, giving us, I guess, direction of how to work with young people to do with these issues. And I think I'm just thinking back, Lucy, to that very first meeting in 2002, where Her Royal Highness called the community in, and spoke to them, and she was very concerned. Very concerned about what was going on with our community, our young people, and tasked us, especially with the professor and us women, gave us that important task of try and build something, do something, because, I think that her request to us is because she knew that we were capable of doing it, Louisa, So she was saying, now, I've got a job here, it needs to be done. Why don't you do what you need to do? And because we come from those backgrounds of working with community, you in health, we know already that you need other people to come in to help. We can't do it all, you just can't do it all.
Sometimes that's how we were encouraged at work too.
Yes.
That we had to work together with the community. And all the other agencies, even if they're non-government agencies, but they got funded, to sort of work together, for the good of the community.
Yes.
Yeah. Not just the youth and that, but it was also about the younger children.
Yes.
At the primary age.
Absolutely. Geez, we covered a whole gamut of from birth and also up to the elderly. We knew, I think, Louisa, that it was important to be working and providing information and assistance for all the ages in our community. And I think that's how we, as Tongans or Pacific Islanders, if we're working with people, we need to engage government services that are already there. That's what they're there for.
They were the people with the resources.
Absolutely.
But also it was helping our young people, Luseane, to be familiar with the services that are helping and are supporting them, with their development, their studies, everything. We could we could sort of just go in, get those resources, with the help of the government, because they were, remember that, who was the Prime Minister at the time?
Oh, you're making me think now, Louisa.
Howard?
He was proactive.
And the thing that he was doing was strengthening families.
Yes.
Yeah, and that was the highlight of our work in those days.
Well, I think, Louisa, we as Tongans, we know that family, like that foundation, that needs to be strong, So I really of course he was really proactive about doing that stuff, but we know also as people that to make sure that the family's strong, that foundation, and we knew that we had to build that, just like when we built the Potatala Aikolomua, okay?
That's right.
We knew that we had to build the foundation and make that strong. And to make that foundation strong, we needed to call in people from all over the place to come and help build that foundation.
We needed the experts in those areas.
And we're not experts in everything.
We work with those, but then we always had those ones who were the experts and the leaders of those sort of. And I think, the parents back in those days, Luseane, I think most of them are grandparents now, but they were comfortable in using, the local services here, the government and non-government services.
Yeah.
And they were fully informed of who to contact.
Because I think we knew, Louisa, that for people to make the right choices, you need to make informed choices.
That's right.
And they needed to be informed, which was our job and the job of other agencies, to bring in the information so that people will know, right, I need to do this. What do I have to choose from? What resource do I need to get the help that I need, And I think when we were, sorry, I had a bit of a thought there, Louisa. I was just thinking that, when You know, when we first had that first information session, and we utilized the Uniting Church, and I was just thinking, we were helped by so many different groups at the time. You know, not just the government services. We had the Uniting Church there who gladly gave us a room to do, to have meetings. We had other people that, that offered other services and agencies that offered
and
up
other
rooms.
churches too.
Other
like
churches, yes.
Because
that's right.
they were running their own projects as well. They were funded to run. And it was working together to bring that holistic care, for our young people.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
Yes. And I think, Louisa, all in all, when I think back, you know how you said, how did we have the energy? But I think we had the energy because you know how sometimes you do things and it gives you more energy to keep going. Sometimes when you're not moving around, yes. Because we started off with our meetings and we started, Sio was already doing radio programs, so then we started with radio programs. Then it was inviting youth, and in the beginning when we had young people like Sydney, to come in and lead the youth to do the programs, it was just amazing.
That's right. They were
amazing
so enthusiastic.
times.
And
she was so good at doing it. Yes,
Georgina.
Yes, Georgina.
All our young people, and they worked well together.
And they were, committed.
Yes, that's right. They enjoy it.
Absolutely, because sometimes there's you don't realize that when you have young people who are committed, that's coming every week. Non-stop. Never, we didn't
just
miss.
Knew they were going to be there.
We knew they were going to be there, to come and run their programs. We gave them the autonomy to do whatever they wanted, play whatever music they wanted, as long as it was respectful. And they were Sydney was very good at making sure that happened with her team. And I tell you, when I think back, Louisa, it was wonderful time seeing young people working for young people. But they had fun, and we were so proud of them.
Yes.
We were so proud of them. And I think young people like to listen to other young people.
That's right.
They do listen to us
older
ones.
The same music.
Yes, but they do like, that's what we need to remember, that we need to task up our young people, teach them what they need to do, because they're the ones they're the future, aren't they? And now they are mums themselves. And
and they continue with it because we did sort of build them up. To look after their own little families and stuff, But like I say, a lot of the young parents here in our community, Tongan community, there's the Samoan community, they all sort of were doing something for the community.
And I think, Louisa, thinking back, the program, Potatala Ekolomua, Dialogue in the Capital, so named by Her Royal Highness at the time, but I think the focus, then was to talk about what we could do, but we didn't just talk. Potatala Ekolomua, it was conversations in the capital about what we needed to do. We not only talked, but we were so hands-on, running groups, radio programs on that side, running things for the young people on that side, doing this, I remember, Louisa, when we were visiting the cover clubs. There was a bit of fun. I think when they gave us permission to visit them, but I thought sometimes they're sitting there thinking, what are these women doing? Why don't they just? But they were very gracious.
Weren't they?
They were very receptive and gracious, and they allowed us to come.
And because we knew them too, like they knew us.
Yes,
and their families.
And we needed to include them because they were part of the community, part of their families. They had children, so it was important for them to, to hear what we had to say. But they were. And they did come and help us various things that we did all through the year. So our community here were very thoughtful and very helpful and supportive. And yes. So I think, when I think back, Louisa, that was a healthy community. And when you have a healthy community, you'd start to build up healthy young people and you include them. And we did that. Yes, being that word again, Louisa, inclusive. You know, it is so important. And when we talk later on about the 1-4 group, we need to remember, you know, inclusive. You don't isolate people because they don't do what you want them to do, or they don't believe what you believe. No way. You know, I think growing up in the islands, I remember a program we had about, I think, mental health. And I remember Siwa talking about, in Tonga, if we have someone with a mental health issue, we don't hide them in the corner. And they were part of the family. You know, they were included in the family. They were just part of the community. And this is what we need to remember. We need to include our young people in whatever way. We can't be judgmental just because they do things that we don't agree to. They're young people. And sometimes if we include them, you know, they can decide, maybe we can do it differently.
And they'll be part of the decision-making process.
But when you knock them the other side and not listen to them and, you know, pretend they're not there, young people know when they're being...
But you know, you look at the who used to be the young, not sort of, just older than our kids. The likes of Doa, the likes of, you know, the young women in those days.
Yes.
They were part of the community.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and they sort of looked at, you know, to our kids sort of coming. There's a lot of respect, you know, amongst them. Yeah, and of course, like with Her Royal Highness, the Crown Princess, back then, yeah, she wanted, remember the Loto Taha?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
because it was a Loto Taha meeting, wasn't it, that she had called?
Yeah.
And everyone else...
It was about the elderly, you know, our sort of, our senior members of the...
Now, we're the senior members, Louisa.
That's right. But see, those women, like, most of them have passed on now. Bless their hearts, or rest in peace. But they enjoyed it, you know, because Her Royal Highness sort of encouraged us to talk to them about health, about their general well-being.
And she was very good at attending meetings and talking to the older women and seeing how they are.
I think she enjoyed it.
Yes. And I think, thinking about that, Liz, you know, I do miss those days of having the close contact with community. Now we're doing, you know, live streaming and all that sort of stuff, and we're on air. But I do miss those days of going into radio programs and doing that. And because we do, Tongans love radio.
Yeah.
You know, the Pacific Islanders love their radio. So even the programs that, you know, in Sydney and Melbourne and all that, I know they've got a good group of listeners that listen into radio. Still this, you know, live streaming and, you know, watching things on videos and internet, but the radio has always been quite prominent with our people. So, and I know we do still have the radio programs here in Canberra, like they do in Sydney and Melbourne, and I think it's a good thing. And I think we need to keep those programs happening and strongly, and giving the messages that are supposed to be given. Because I think we were so lucky to have the community radio program, and that was our, you know, a tool for us to be able to inform, you know, and the programs were full of information. You know, your program, Louisa, like Women in Dialogue, that you facilitated, that was full of information about women's health. But we also covered men's health and children's health.
Yes.
So,
because men's health was just coming in those days. You know, they were a little bit neglected back then, but now they're full on. I think they're taking more of the, of the attention.
True.
Yeah.
And I remember someone saying, you know, the men were used to us doing all the stuff. So the women were very proactive in building their programs and looking at their health, and the men are sitting there waiting for us to do that for them, you know. But now there's a lot of men's health programs and support happening all over the world, which is a great thing.
And they're more aware of how important their well-being is. Like, if they're going to be helping their families, you know, they really have to be part of it.
That's true.
Yeah,
so, you know, that's why I wanted for us to go back and talk about what we did, because it'll lead us into our topic other topic, which is, you know, these group of young men. And I know that your son, you know, has been working hard with a lot of people to support these young people. So, Louisa, now that we're here talking about 1-4, do you have the information of when Hal started talking or working with them?
Yes, I think they started like with 1-4. He started working with them, and I just sort of looking at all the interviews that
has it been a couple of years that they've?
Oh yeah. Back when they started.
Yeah, which is what maybe few. Is it? It's not been that long, has it?
2014.
2014.
Yeah.
Oh, that's. Oh, really?
Yeah,
is that when they started?
Because those boys were sort of working at the university studio thing.
Okay.
You know, out in the suburbs.
Okay.
They were sort of talking about those things back then.
Right,
yeah.
Right. So when you say that there were already a group in 2014?
In 14, yeah. That's what, I think they had another name for it.
Oh, they
had another name for it. And some people say that they get the 1-4 as part of that sort of first initial beginners sort of thing. But then they claim that 1-4 is just, you know, when they started as a group. It's like 214.
Yeah.
So 2014.
Yeah.
So they just used the 1-4.
Okay.
Yeah, because that's when
that's the start,
they started
the beginning.
as a group.
That's clever.
Yeah.
But you know, it's an amazing story, Louisa, because it's now come through on Netflix. You know that was it Netflix that it came through?
Yeah, that just sort of came through.
So that documentary has come through.
Yeah.
Very informative. You know, I suggest that if you haven't, have a look at it too. And if you don't know much about that group, we're just going to try and give you a few bits and pieces about the group.
That's the documentary about the group on the 27th of October. It came out.
Yes.
Yeah. So 1-4 again, or against all odds.
Yes. And you know what? You know, when I looked at the title of that, because my daughter said to me, "Mum, it's on. Go and watch it." And it's not the type of music that I listen to, but I'm interested in what young people are doing. You know, always been interested, and also because we've worked with youth for such a long time, Louisa, we have realized how important it is to be inclusive with young people and to take some interest in what they're doing. That is what's important for them. You know, just because you're not interested in that type of, I guess, genre of music, but that's what they love.
Yeah.
You know, and if you think back to our programs, radio programs, Louisa, Sapney, when she brought in her young people, they could bring in whatever music they wanted, and they covered all this stuff.
That's right, because these young ones weren't sort of, but I mean they're about that age group.
Exactly.
Yeah, that sort of.
Exactly. So you know, with 1-4, Louisa, I know they started back in 2014. This documentary, what I think what I noticed first was it felt like they've been prosecuted and persecuted by the police, and continuously, wherever they were, you know, okay, when you look at these young people, they come from Mount Druitt, you know, and we know Mount Druitt.
That says something for itself.
Yes.
You see. That's a sad part about
Absolutely.
it. Yeah.
Mount Druitt, everyone in Australia knows where Mount Druitt is. Over in that city or suburb, there's a lot of poverty. There's a lot of problems.
It's supposed to be one of the most disadvantaged suburb in Sydney.
Absolutely.
And you only have to mention it.
Yes.
But you know what, Lucy? That's way back then. Remember at work? I remember at work.
There they are on screen.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
I remember at work that they used to pilot programs for the youth in the Mount Druitt area.
Yes. Yes.
You know, they always, and before I knew anybody who lived there, I always remember that from work. Working with the youth, they always piloted those, projects and programs in Mount Druitt before, and then they'll review that, and then it will come out or the other, states.
Yes.
I always remember that, when
because it's important to pilot such a program in an area like that.
Yeah.
And I know Hal was doing stuff out there too, because I remember when I spoke to him on his storytelling program, he actually spoke about he was out there a lot.
Yeah.
Doing stuff with young people, so
I think and also like somebody approached him and said, have you heard these guys, in Mount Druitt? And he said no.
Yeah.
And he said, I think you should come and listen to them. So, he thought, oh yes, because kids are always sending him little
tapes and
things,
recordings.
And he said, oh yeah, but he went along. And he said he just couldn't believe it.
Yes.
And that was the talk in those days. He said those guys were just something different.
Yes.
And
you saw the talent and how different they were.
The talent, and it wasn't only that, but because how our sort of young ones used to say they want to rap in the Australian accent. They didn't want to use the American accent, They were just encouraging, to use their own and be their own sort of thing. But he said when he had these guys, he just couldn't believe it. And he said it was the first time that he'd had people not from the American hip-hop, but it was the British, sort of from there. And they just sounded different.
And because of Hal's background and his expertise, because he continuously work apart from winning an aria, he continues to work in the music business, so he knows he can pick.
Yes.
He listened to these boys and he just knew that there was something special, and he's connected to them, and they talked about him in that program with great admiration and love and respect, because they knew that he offered them what no one else offered them.
It's sort of I was saying to my husband, I don't like talking about 1-4. He says, why? I said, it's something that when I talk about them, it just tugs at me emotionally. Because, I've heard of these guys right from the beginning. And when he was introduced to them and listened, he just couldn't believe it.
Yes.
What he heard. And then I think he said to them, what's stopping you from making, something out of yourself? And they said it was the lack of time for studios.
Yes.
And I think the universities sort of use a lot of their university studios out in the suburb. Yeah, so I think that's what they were using.
Yes.
And that was the only thing that was stopping them, from. And then he said, so he promised, like, you're going to work hard if I help you with something like that.
Find a studio.
Yeah, a studio.
Proper studio.
And to hear them talk about Sony, because that was something.
And that's what he gave them. He brought them to that. And they were so amazed at,
at the things that they... And when you think they had the potentials, things, all they needed was something.
All they needed was to be supported and helped, pointed into the right direction, And that's, when I watched this documentary, I was so saddened and angry, Louisa. And I thought, what are we? Where are we up to now? And this is happening.
Yeah, it's like we've gone back. But
we have gone back 50 years, the way these young people are treated. And yet, because the police, they've set up this task force just to harass these children. I think
that task force was first set up to sort of deal with, like, the bikies, all those big cases then. So when 1-4 sort of came on, they're the ones who were left to take the responsibility of, sort of, but when you think, I was, how they get saying, because you talk about hip hop and rap, and then all of a sudden you hear that word drill, drill rap, and I thought, never heard of that.
Genre,
I thought, I thought I knew everything about it.
Well, I thought I knew, but when my son said to me it's drill, and I thought, okay, drill. But listening to how to and listening to, and watching that documentary gives you an idea about what that is. And that's why the police are so suspicious, and that comes with fear too. And now they're being blamed for all the problems in Mount Druitt and in Australia. These young boys are being blamed that they're, that they are causing all this to happen, and they are part of it. Of course, these young people, they've grown up in this area. They've done the wrong things from time to time. They've ended up in jail from time to time.
Do you remember
and so have
those
so
days,
many
Lucy?
yes.
When the youth, we knew that they were going to get into some sort of trouble.
Yes, that's right. And that's the thing. And they've been there, and some of them are in there. But there's no reason for them to be treated like they are being treated, to be hounded, because they are being hounded and persecuted by, by people who are supposed to protect us.
Yeah, because I think what's happening with, I had to read up on drill.
Yeah.
Drill hip hop, because I thought I'd never heard of that, and then found that one, and because when you think about these kids, they all grew up together.
Yeah.
They all knew each other, and what they were doing, Lucy, is what we've seen in kids who we were trying to help back in those days.
Yeah.
Like working school, getting into a little bit of trouble, and we know ourselves because our boys used to help some of those youth in the Faitava thing. They helped them. Yeah, but and these guys were they were Mormons, which they're never allowed to smoke, drink or any of those things. But when you see some of the shots that they see, what they were doing, they're riding the bikes, which is quite common in areas where there's nothing else for them to do. Yeah, but those things. And I was reading about drill sort of thing. And the difference between just the normal hip hop and the drill sort of what's the word they use for the drill music? The rap. Drill rap.
Yeah.
Sorry, Lucy, I couldn't think of rap. When I was reading about that, the first with these guys, when the first little single that they put up, Lucy, and we saw that in some of the little things, they sort of achieved 1 million views on YouTube in 48 hours.
Yes.
And that is something really amazing.
That is amazing. Yeah. Because, not many people can get that.
No.
There is not many people that can get that many views. And that was in 24 hours, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, that's right, 48 hours. And they also made it to the ARIA single chart.
They did.
39.
They
did. The 39.
Yeah.
And even Hazard, he's never seen any like these guys, because they were using the rap from Britain. All that. Yeah. And I think that was when you think about the police, or what do they call those, do you remember, Lucy, what they call the people like,
are you talking about police?
The police, yeah. Because they
task force.
The task force, Reptor.
Yes.
Yeah, the task force.
But Raptor, look at the name itself, Raptor. That is horrific in itself.
With the Raptor, they were set up to sort of deal with all the bikies and all the trouble and the drugs and all the things that were going on.
Yeah.
So, and that was only like last year. So when this guy sort of came on, I guess they saw it as as another group for them to target.
When you hear some of the parents talking about what happened, when you hear some of the families talking about how these police came fully armed, with masks and helmets and everything, like a task force, and called Raptor.
I think they've been sort of.
It is just it's horrific, and how can How can someone, if someone is being hounded, if someone runs after you every day and hassles you and harasses you, you're not going to be the same human. You're going to be a very different human. So why do the police wonder why these, and when you talked about they do drill rap, and we talk, and drill rap is about killing, it's about murder, it's about people dying, and they say it straight. There's no covering up of the language.
Uncensored.
Yes.
Yeah, it was just raw.
It's just raw, very raw. And of course that's how these young people talk. If we go into certain parts of the world, there are certain ways that people have conversations and talk. You go into America, you go into a place where there's lots of problems and stuff, people talk their gang language or whatever language it is, very different to people who talk in maybe New York City, in the richer, affluent areas over there. So why, when I think about when I was watching Louisa and the police were talking and the commissioner was talking and kept referring to, they are doing all this, we need to stop it, we need to keep a lid on it, they are causing all these problems. They're not the cause of all the problems of Mount Druitt.
No, not all that.
The problems in Mount Druitt were there historically, and they will be there unless something happens and turns it right around. But they're not the cause of all these problems. What I can see is that you're only making the problems worse by doing what you're doing, police. Honestly. I know the police, the police here do fabulous work, Louisa, and they've been working with us.
They were the ones who helped us.
Absolutely. And in my job in the past, I worked closely with the police, and we couldn't do our work without the police. It's just what's happening in Mount Druitt with Raptor and what they're doing with these young people. There's every time or different times in the day, they'll just break into someone's house. They're doing nothing. They haven't done anything wrong. And there's mum there trying to cook dinner, or there's one of his sisters is outside playing with her dog, and the police arrive. And this happens continuously, intermittently, during the week, during the month, whatever time.
Yeah,
and this keeps happening. Yeah. And any psychologist or psychiatrist will tell you, if you hound a person, it changes their persona. So it's no wonder these young people are still holding on to music. Music is their life, and it's what making them continue in this life. And please don't take it away from them, because this is what they need to survive and to get through life. That's all they've got. That's all they've got, because they've grown up in this.
I think what they're saying to them now, because now they call the one for, they're the ones, the first drill rappers
in Australia.
In Australia. Yeah. And of course they use them in Britain and I think Chicago, those sort of areas. And when you think about Chicago and all those areas,
yes,
it's mainly like, a bit like
of
what
course.
they used to think of Mount Druitt.
Yes.
Yeah, sort of.
And you can't, I remember someone, I think it was Siwa, if a banana tree grows up, it's not going to produce hopper, eh? It's going to be bananas, and you get bananas from a banana tree. These children grew up in Mount Druitt, around that area, in that environment. They're not going to grow up being well-behaved little children. It's just the way humans are, and
that's what one of the professor from the University of Sydney was saying.
Yeah.
Of course they'll get cranky and they want to hit back.
Of course. Yeah. I'm not even youth, but if someone did that to me every day, if someone broke into my house and frightened my children, grandchildren, I would be doing worse maybe than 1-4, So it's a human, we are conditioned by our environment. And we need to remember that.
All the surroundings.
Yes, all the surroundings. If these young people were allowed to breathe, when you have a choice in your life, you can make different choices. But if you're not given a choice, then what have you got? You're just going to stay in whatever it is that you stay in because you don't have a choice. Running after them every day and harassing them and their mother and their sisters and whatever. We as Pacific Islanders our families are important. And I remember watching one of the bits they did before they went on to perform. They all held each other and they prayed. I mean, to me, you can't say that these young people are all bad and horrible and awful, and they've got a moment in there. They have a moment there where
they need that break.
They need that break.
Yeah, just the
and
opportunity.
Yes, our time is running out, Louisa.
Yeah, but I think I just wanted to say, with the claim that they make is that apparently there have been researchers and found that with this sort of music, where it has sort of destroyed and caused a lot of trouble in areas where they've done drill.
Yes.
Yeah. And I guess when they saw how quickly 1-4 sort of just rose to fame, and remember like the concert that they had up in Brisbane.
Yeah.
The many people, I think that's why they ended up saying, well, if they want to continue, as a group, then they have to change the language that they use, and not use it. So that's the thing, because I think, it's never happened before, in Australia. So they're thinking, well, you can just imagine they're thinking that if that continues, they'll really have to face a lot of problem kids. But we have to trust ourselves as parents, and people in the environment that we're bringing up our kids.
Absolutely,
yeah. But I think that's the scary thing about them. And also, that guy who runs the rector, he said, unless they change their language, and do it.
But they're not giving them a chance and a choice, Louisa. Surely they know that, like when we're reprimanding or disciplining our children, say, right, that's it. You're not going to do that. That's it. If you don't do that, our children don't respond to that. People do not respond to be not given a choice. You need to give people a choice, and I wish someone there in the Raptor group will just remember that, okay, they're not, these young people have misbehaved, they've done the wrong thing, they've ended up in jail, they're doing drill, they're saying things that are really, disrespectful and whatever, challenging to people. But that's their language at the moment. If you give them an opportunity, maybe they could, grow into something else. And because we've watched musicians change
and they think
what they do from time to time.
Even though that's what they think about drill sort of thing. But it does bring people together, which is a lovely, sort of
and
thing.
And they are angry, Louisa. When you look at this, they are angry young people, and they have every right to be angry. Absolutely.
Well, they've got a reason.
To be angry. They've got a reason to.
And
even though we say, if you just do this, then it'll be all right. These are young people, and we know it. We as adults react when we are being treated unfairly. And this is unfair treatment. I know that they have behaved wrongly in the past, or whatever they do, but you look at, I watched one of the young people talking, and it's like that they're at the point where they just don't know what else to do. They're tired of being harassed. They're tired of being told they're wrong.
Yeah, they're saying that it has become their norm.
Yes.
Which is really sad, because that's not
They
the
have
norm.
been pushed to this. Yeah. Anyway, I hope if you haven't watched this documentary on Netflix, 1-4, please go and watch it, just to have an idea of what we're dealing with, or what they're having to experience, these young people. But Louisa, once again, it's been a wonderful thing. Maybe, do you have one last comment to make before we finish off this program?
No, it's just, we were talking about the youth, and it's about, because I know that a lot of our own people just don't understand what's happening to these guys. But it's about them just needing that little break. And then they'll sort of go ahead and change.
They are reacting, they're reacting to what's happening to them. They're retaliating because of what's happening to them. And we need to change the language around that, Louisa, and I think the police need to re-look at the language and the way they're dealing with this. We've had people, I remember two professors came on that documentary to talk about what they see and what they hope will change. maybe, Louisa, I have a hope that things will change for these young people, because that talent, as your son Hao noticed, you've got to foster that talent, make it grow, because there'll be something amazing. They're already amazing, but they'll be more amazing in the future, and they will make different choices if they're given the opportunity to make those different choices.
And I think with the language that they're using now, it's about just emptying, all their experiences.
Arrogant. Arrogant.
It has to go somewhere.
Yes.
Yeah.
You and I like to air things, don't we, Louisa?
It was funny. It was funny because I was watching the bit about hip hop and the rap, and I thought, well, that has come a long way. Did you watch those?
Absolutely.
And they're all dressed
They're
up.
all different now,
they're all different now. And I thought,
and in their heyday, they were quite,
Well, that's right. I couldn't get over that. I was just amazed, and I was thinking about these guys, these boys. It's about that opportunity for them to grow.
Yes.
And just be back on the.
And when, watching the ARIA Awards a week ago, I'm looking at all these musicians, and they are different. They dress differently. They talk differently. It doesn't mean that they're wrong, That's who they are as humans. We need to be accepting of how humans are. I mean, I'm here, and yet why should I say I don't accept you because you're this and you dress like that? Maybe they're saying, well, I don't accept you. Look at the way you're dressed. So it's about being thoughtful and,
I remember using my own experience, Lucy, when I used to, that boy was only, 12 or something. And I used to walk past the room, and then I'd hear this word, and I thought, no, I don't think I heard right. Then I'll go back on it. And then one day I picked up the car and said, did I hear right? And then he just burst out laughing, and he said, I've been waiting for you to say something, Mum. It's like, but, that's gone now. They're back into, sort of...
Me too.
And helping those young ones. They passed that stage.
And I remember with my eldest son, I'd say to him, I don't want to hear that language, please. And there's your siblings, your younger brother and sister, and they look at me thinking, we don't mind. Why? But that's, it's about acceptance, and I think acknowledging that people have a right to be, You don't have to listen if you don't like it. Look somewhere else. Look away.
Yes. Somebody used to say that to me.
Yeah.
Mom, if you don't want, you don't have to listen, just turn off the radio.
Yeah.
And that's it. You have to be curious just to make sure that everything is, Well, we wish those young people the best of luck.
We do wish you and your families the best of luck. And I know one of the mums experiences terrible stuff from the police, and she's not going to let go of her boy. The boys, no way. And we as mums would do that.
Yeah.
Families gather around. So we need to be acknowledging of these young people and the way they do things. We may not agree, not agreeable, disrespectful, they swear, they do all this stuff. That's what they do.
That's what
we
may said.
give them a bit of room so that they can breathe.
That's what we ended up saying to ours last night. Well, you're old enough to make up your own mind, sort of thing. But you know how we feel.
Well,
we've got a young one.
My boys have listened to all sorts of different things, and they're still wonderful young people.
And one of our young ones is launching her new song tonight right in the city in Canberra. I don't remember the name of that place in Northbourne Avenue.
Northbourne Avenue.
Yes.
Oh, what place is that? Would that be?
It's on the left. She's not going to forgive me for forgetting that area. But yeah, she's launching it there. She's got a full house, and it's her own song. That's Minasiale.
So give us the name, Louisa. Your name.
Her name.
Yes.
Minasiale.
Yes. Latukefu.
That's
another Latukefu coming to the fore again,
So we're going to watch her launch that new song, sort of.
Good luck to Minasiale.
Yes.
Good luck to her. And it's wonderful. See, this is what
but
I mean.
It's about the support of the parents.
Absolutely.
Lucy. Even if we didn't agree with what the part, we're there to support.
Because you know, Louisa, that mother on the program said, you know, I know they do this stuff, but you know, I'm their mum.
That's right.
And you know, and I do want them to make it a little bit different, but this is how they are. So
yeah, that's what I said to mine. You know how we feel, but I still ordered a lei for him, Lucy.
Yes.
Had it Uber.
It looked beautiful.
And had it Uber up there. And when
he
he
looked
got
beautiful.
when
and
he
his
got it,
and his gear.
and when he got it, he knew that my heart was
Yes.
in the right place.
Oh, he looked
Whether
beautiful.
I agree or not agree.
We're talking about how Latukefu, because he was one of the presenters on our ARIA Awards last week, and he looked fantastic with his Tongan gear and his kahoa. It was beautiful, Louisa. I love it when I see our young people dressed in our traditional costume. Anyway, our time's up, up. Thank you again.
Oh, thank you, Lucy, for walking down memory lane with us.
Oh, what a
thinking
walk.
about our youth.
What a walk.
Yes, that's right.
Yes.
And
Thinking
ourselves
about our
as
youth.
parents
Do
of
not
those
forget.
youth.
Do not forget our youth. Don't.
And I say good luck to my niece, Minasiale,
Yes.
for her
Good luck to
launching her
Luseane.
song tonight.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
And wherever you are in the world.
Yeah, good luck to everyone,
Yes.
all the children out there.
And I remember when Sonny was on program, Sonny Maile was on program a couple of weeks ago. You know, that's youth. That's our youth. We need to keep our youth, you know, keep them close. Don't push them out to wherever. Keep them close. Even if they're naughty, keep them close. There you go.
Right.
So, thank you. We're coming to the end of, this is the end of this program, but next week, in 2 weeks' time, we'll close down for Christmas.
Oh,
So don't forget to
already?
watch us on our Christmas program, week after next. But all the best to 1-4.
yes.
And
that mother
pray
that
for
we
1-4,
always see.
yes, and pray for the police to do the right thing with these young people. Thank you so much for watching us this afternoon here in Canberra. Have a wonderful weekend.
It's all right.
I don't know whether he cut us off or...